A big thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this week's video.
So morning everybody, I am back to the foggy spot that I was at a few days ago where you couldn't actually see anything, and today I'm pleased to say that I can actually see the the tiny little hill. But the problem is the fog's not here. I've just driven through loads of fog, but there's none here. Anyway, today, oh, this is going to be exciting. I've got out my D200, my Nikon D200, which was the second digital camera that I owned, and I got it in about 2005, I think. It was 10 megapixels, woohoo! And I'm going to compare it to my Z7, so that'll be interesting. And just see, maybe I'll share a couple of images on Instagram, see if you can tell which is which. Anyway, I'll show you where I'm going. Forgotten how steep this little hill is. Okay, so there's a little bit of mist behind, so that should be good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some photos with both cameras, and I'm looking at just the ergonomics, just see how they differ. I've not really played with it. I've just put a battery in it, check it works, and that's it. I'm going to look at the screen, see what it's like to use a mirrored camera again, and then we can have a look back in the studio and look at the photos and see when you share them just on usual social media when anybody can tell the difference. Now, I'm sure there's going to be big differences. Dynamic range is one that I'm interested in. But first of all, I need to find a composition, because we've got to have a good photo. That's most important. Right, keep going. Okay, so I've got my D200 on here. The most miraculous thing is the battery is still working, and it still looks like it's on full bars. Tried to touch the screen a few times, can't do that, obviously. It's really, you've got to look through the viewfinder, because that's where you get all the information. And yeah, the focus is useless, especially in just slightly darker conditions, so it's taking me a while to focus. So what I've got is this sort of composition down here. You can just sort of see. Now the problem is that this is a 24 to 85mm lens, as you can see there. So that means that randomly I'm only shooting at like 36mm wide, the widest. So it's a bit of a strange lens, really, and I can't remember why I had this lens, but anyway, it's the only lens I've got for it at the moment. So we've got this scene here. We're not really going to get a sunrise, I don't think, so I'm in no rush, and I'm going to bracket the shots and take quite a lot, because I think my focus might be off. So I'm going to bracket the shots quite a bit so I can get some sky detail. And I'm also, with this camera as well, I'm just going to do a bit of a pano, because, you know, I can do a pano. There's no reason I can't. I would have done that in the past. And just to see if I stitch that together, you know, if I can get as good quality photos with this camera as I do with the Z7. Right, so I'll take a few shots now. Right, here goes. So, Aperture Priority, f8. I've got my timer on, ISO 100, which is as low as it goes, and I don't really know what some of these buttons do, but I'll figure it out. Okay, and right, so now I need to focus. Now the thing is, it's only got a few focusing spots, so I'll choose that one, focus, and I think that's focused. Right, so it's now on a timer, as you can see by the flash, but I'll move that out of the way. Okay, so I've put on my Z7, I've gone to 36mm, and the first thing I noticed, which is so different, is the screen is unbelievable compared to the other one. But the other thing is, I think the dynamic range of this camera is stops ahead, like not just a tiny bit. And I expected that. I thought the dynamic range was probably the biggest advantage, obviously megapixels, but the second one is probably going to be dynamic range. But it really is, I can get this whole scene in easily within one shot. So it's going to be really interesting because the screen on that one might not be great, but I looked at the histogram and yeah, it was definitely struggling to get it all in. Okay, just as I was thinking, oh, I might pack up, fog's just rolled in. Woohoo! That's amazing. I was just doing the Pano and I thought, right, I'll do this Pano and then I'll pack up. So I'm gonna have to do the Pano somewhere else because I've got a shot with my Z7 and then with the D200 I can't do the same shot. But I'm gonna go back over there. Oh my God, this is great now. Now it's going back to how it was the other day with the path. And now I can't see the hill in the background. Right, I probably should find another composition. It's going to change this rapidly. Yeah, better take a shot.
Gravel road, I've been asked to slow down. Fireplace, do you know?
Oh, I found quite a nice little composition here. There's a tree and a really nice stone wall leading to it, and with the mist coming through, it just gives it that extra something where the tree sort of disappears into nothing, and then the walls behind it are sort of all meeting at the tree. So yeah, I'll just quickly show you. You can just see there that it just looks pretty amazing, really. I think that's definitely worth a shot. So I'm going to try and shoot it with my Z7, and then I'll probably see if I can just delete a few photos that didn't work out on my other camera. Everyone's done that, haven't they? Run out of space and delete a few photos, and then take it with the other D200 as well. I will get a coffee.
Who care for the world now? Rest with me.
The battery life, it's only gone down by 1 bar, and I've taken probably 20 photos with it because my 1 gigabyte card filled up pretty quickly. I think it already had some photos on, to be fair. Yeah, so I just took a picture of this little scene that you can see in the background, which I think is quite interesting as well. And the fog's rolling through all the time now. It is freezing cold because the wind's getting up a bit as well. I think it's just low cloud now. But I'm going to be really interested to go back and have a look at these photos. But before I do that, we're going to have a look at we're going to go to some woodland and take some woodland shots, which will be longer exposures, maybe a little bit. We can test pulling out the shadows a little bit more. So that'll be interesting. So tomorrow morning, I think I'll go and see if I can find a woodland shot. Right, let's go and get a coffee. This is the best bit. I can't feel my fingers though. So, one of the things that I realised with photography is, I think the thing that I love the most is that excitement of when you've been out somewhere, it's just going back and having a look at your photos. And sometimes it's because you've got a new camera, sometimes because the scene's amazing, and it doesn't really matter what it is. And this time it's just because I've got a really old camera and I really want to see what the photos look like. But it's that sense of excitement. There's always that wonder of opening those files on the computer, or developing the negatives, or printing the prints from negatives, whatever it is. It's super exciting to see and develop those photos. And it's just that creativity, that you know, that sense of wonderment, I suppose, and excitement I love so much. Don't fall down the hill. Anyway, you can see the hill now. Got my coffee. Home time after this.
Take my hand and lead even when I disagree. Oh, I love when it rains outside.
If you listen really hard, you'll probably just about make out the woodpecker. Listen. Did you hear him? I feel like Morton again. Oh, that's amazing. So what I've got is just some amazing fog. It's just unbelievable. I'm so excited. Okay. let's keep looking. Oh, wow, this is so amazing. The fog's just clearing a little bit now, but I wanted to come straight to these trees because I wanted to get these with reasonably dense fog, and I've got shots on both cameras of these hugging trees in dense fog, which I've been trying to get for the last year. So finally got the shot. It's going to be really interesting because what I noticed with this, especially with the lens I've got, I need 24mm here because I need to go closer to it. Otherwise I end up getting stuff in that I don't want. But that's not the camera's fault, that's just the lens choice fault. I looked at my photos a little bit last night, and I'll go through those soon when we get back in the studio, but surprising. I won't say why, but they were surprising. Right, I'm going to carry on taking this. It's basically 24, so it's about 36mm, and I've got it on ISO 100 f9, just focusing sort of in the middle of the tree really. I just need the fog just to come back in a little bit now, and it'll be perfect. And this is the shot.
Heart filled with worry, no more. In a world full of sorrow.
Okay, so this is the area that I walk Pebbles all the time, and there's this really amazing mine. You can see just the entrance to the tunnels in the background. I always find it really interesting. Anyway, talking about old things, this is the D200 I've been shooting for the last couple of days, and I just thought before we have a look at the photos, I'm going to go back and have a look at the photos now. I'll just talk a little bit about the other things that I've noticed shooting with an old camera and things that have come on that you maybe take for granted. The first one is the screen. The screen is so useless on this. You can't tell whether anything's in focus. When you zoom in on it, it's so difficult. The resolution's low, the colour quality is just awful on it. The next thing is probably an optical viewfinder. I've not used a mirrored camera now for sort of about 3 years, and just having to look through the optical viewfinder is just frustrating really. Not being able to have a histogram is so frustrating as well. Now I know I could put the screen on, but the screen's so useless you just can't use it. So that's just really noticeable. And the third thing is the focus is so awful. I just couldn't remember just how awful the focus was. I mean, it's not the end of the world for a landscape camera, but yeah, the focus wasn't great. The focus now is amazing in modern cameras. So I think the image quality, looking at this really poor screen, looks okay. My first impression is that maybe it's okay, but obviously that's difficult. We'll have to go back to the computer and see. Now, I've taken some of my favourite shots on this camera. The sun tree was taken on this camera, so I know that it is reasonably good, but I'd just like to compare the same shots with my Z7 as well. So I'm really excited to getting back to the studio now and having a look at them. Come on, Peps. Bye.
Right, well that was two fantastic trips with the D200 and my Z7. I really enjoyed them, and we got amazing fog, which was brilliant. It was really interesting using it, as I said. I think the ergonomics of it are the biggest improvement. Now obviously resolution as well. But let's have a look at that resolution and see what difference it makes. So the first one was before we got the fog. This was this hill in the background and this tree here. Without the fog, I don't think it makes the best image in the world because there's too much going on behind it. But there was obviously a bit of a sunrise, not much of a sunrise, but a little bit of a sunrise here. And actually, I'm surprised in this one shot, you can see it's just about managed to pull that out. You know, if I darken it down, you can see there is detail there. And in the Z7 shot, then slightly edited a little bit differently. It's difficult. That's one thing that I noticed, and I've shown on a future image, that the colour differences were quite significant between the two. Anyway, you can see that the sky is pretty similar. Now, when you try and zoom in, so if I try and zoom in on this one, that's as much as it does. And you know, it's picked up the detail at that resolution, it's pretty good. but the shadow detail here is not great, and you can obviously see the difference in zoom level. You can see these trees and the details of the trees in the background, whereas on the other one you can't. I mean, you know, you'd have to go to 200% and then it's all fuzzy, so it's not great. So the next shot was this Pano. So I stitched together this Pano here, and that's when the fog came in, and it worked actually quite well. You can see I can zoom in a lot more, but it's really emphasizes the quality difference in the sensor and those 15 years of technology where you get a lot more noise in the shadows, but not as significant as you may think. And I've printed an image, which I'll show you in a minute, which is quite interesting. So the next shot was probably the best from a compositional point of view, because the fog was just creating a bit of attenuation of the mountain in the background. Again, I've edited these fairly quickly. I've just applied one of my presets onto them and not done much else really. And so that was the one with the D200, which looked pretty good. And then the Z7. And again, the main difference, if I just zoom in on this tree trunk here, is that you can see the quality of that resolution going from 10 megapixels to 45 megapixels is so significant. And then this was another shot. I really like this. I like the composition of this. This was the D200 one. This was the Z7 one, slightly different aspect ratio. I probably cropped this one a little bit differently, and I got rid of the sheep as well. Now, what's quite interesting is that I posted these shots on Instagram. So I posted all the shots that I posted in the last 2 or 3 posts are all taken with the D200, and nobody commented, nobody said the quality is a little bit worse. But yeah, they were taken with my D200. If we compare these side to side, we just haven't got the same detail. It's just significantly better, which obviously is what you'd expect really. Okay, so I just want to quickly show you this photo. So this was a photo I really liked. This was actually taken on my Z7. I didn't take this on my D200 because it wasn't quite wide enough, the lens, but this is probably my favorite shot that I took up there. I think this anchors the image really well, and then the fact that there's 2 trees that are a similar shape is really nice. And then I really like these trees just mysteriously backing up this corner here. And yeah, I really like this. This is probably one of my favorite shots that I took on that morning. Okay, on to the Woodland Shot. So this is the raw image from the D200, and the colors, that's the biggest thing I noticed, that it's really hard to work with the images from the D200 from 15 years ago compared to the Z7 images, which are just much easier to work with. You know, the dynamic range, the color levels is just so much better. But that's the raw image, and then an edited image is this one here. I removed some of the foliage at the bottom because you can see that it was just untidy. And then this is the Z7 image. It's slightly different position. As I mentioned in the video, I struggled to get to the same position with the lens type, but I printed this one out. So this is the print, A3 print of the D200. And to be honest, you know, looking at this now, I would be happy at selling this as a print. It's at this size, any bigger, it's probably going to fall down. But at this size, it looks really, really good. And this is a 15-year-old 10 megapixel camera. And then the final one was this shot I shot with this was the D200, and this was the Z7. It just shows I couldn't work the image to be as good looking for getting resolution just from the colors that I had with the D200. And I feel that this one just looks a little bit better. And if I just sort of put that alongside this one, and then we just zoom out, you can see that the colors are just a little bit better in the Z7 image. So that was it. If you've liked it, please give it a thumbs up and share it. You know, if you're not subscribed, then do consider subscribing. It massively helps me and my channel. Okay, I want to thank the sponsor of this week's episode, which is Squarespace. And Squarespace have been a long-term partner of my channel, and I've just done so much to help me, not just with sponsoring it and helping me to go to locations and be able to produce these videos, but also in their website. It really has massively helped. If I just pull up my website to produce something like this, where I can embed a video in the homepage for my new book Woodlands, which is still available for pre-order. To do that was so easy. They just sort out all the sizing of it, make it look amazing, make it look good on mobile and on desktop. And if you're a landscape photographer and you're looking for sharing your work, then please take a look at Squarespace. I'm sure you'll find it very, very valuable. And if you are looking at making a website, then you can go to squarespace.com and then make sure you use offer code Nigel or /Nigel for 10% off your first purchase. Okay, that is it. Thanks ever so much for watching, and until next Sunday, bye. Right, what shall I do with this? I think I'll put this back on my shelf over here to gather. Maybe we'll do maybe we'll do another one in 30 years. Okay, there we go. Maybe the next time I'll do it with this, my first ever camera.